Okay, cool. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my talk. Today I'm going to talk about event-based state management with NgRx SignalStore. And let's start with the event-driven architecture. So it's a software architecture pattern in which system components communicate through events. In event-driven architecture, we have three base building blocks. We have event bus as a central place, and we also have producers on one and consumers on the other side. So producers are producing or publishing events to the event bus. And then every time when some event is published or emitted, event bus will notify a relevant consumer about the emitted event. There are many benefits of event-driven architecture. Here I mention only some of them. The first one is loose coupling. Components don't need to know about each other. By the way, here when I'm saying components, I don't mean UI components, but system components, like building blocks of our system. Scalability. We also have a flexibility as another advantage. So as long as the event format is maintained as a contract, components can be changed or replaced independently. And last but not least, extensibility. New components can be introduced without changing the existing ones. When it comes to popularity of event-based solution, the peak of popularity was somewhere in 2010s due to technologies such as cloud computing, microservices, and Internet of Things. But in the same period of time, some event-based solution appeared in the front-end ecosystem as well, such as RxJS and Flux. Before we continue the story about event-based state management, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Marko Stanimirović. I come from Belgrade, from Serbia. I work as a principal front-end engineer at SMG, and in addition to that, I'm a core member of NgRx and AnalogJS teams, Google developer expert in Angular, and organizer of NG Belgrade conference. I'm also the lead author or creator of NgRx Signals package and SignalStore. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter by searching for my handle, Marko Stanimirović. I also have the LinkedIn account, by the way. Let's now talk about Flux. So Flux is made of, let's say, three main building blocks. We have a dispatcher as a central place. So when some event happens in our system, we are dispatching an action to the dispatcher. Then dispatcher will notify relevant stores. So in the initial Flux proposal, in initial Flux pattern, we had multiple stores. So when some action is dispatched to the dispatcher, it will notify a relevant store that that action happened. What will then happen? In the store, we can perform a side effect or update the state, and updated version of our state will be displayed in the view. When some other event happens, like some user event, when we click on some button on the view, another action will be dispatched to the dispatcher, the state will be updated, then the update will be reflected on the view, so this process will repeat, this flow will repeat over and over for each event in our system. Main features of the Flux architecture and pattern are unidirectional data flow, separation of concerns, scalable architecture, and improved debugging due to some browser extensions such as Redux DevTools. When it comes to the popular implementations of the Flux pattern, the most popular one in the React ecosystem is Redux. In Angular, we have NgRx Global Store, and in Vue.js, we have Vuex. And Redux was really popular, right? There was a huge hype around it, but then after some period, comments like this started to appear on the internet, on blog posts and social networks, like why I stopped using NgRx, is NgRx overrated, and similar. So to better understand what happened here, let's take a quick look at the Gartner hype cycle for the Flux evolution. So in 2014, Flux was introduced. Then when Redux implementation appeared in 2016, Actually, it appeared before, but in 2016 it reached a peak of popularity. But then after some time, people start realizing that Redux will not solve all their problems, or that Redux is maybe not the right tool for every use case. So there was some kind of disappointment. And then in 2019, we have a rise of alternatives. Nowadays, when it comes to Flux evolution, we are in a phase of stable, mature usage. Let's now see what alternatives are introduced in this period. So unlike Redux, which is, let's say, a heavyweight state management solution, a lightweight solution started to appear again. In the React ecosystem, the most popular one is Zustand. In NgRx ecosystem, we have a component store, and in Vue, there is a state management library called Pinia. The main advantages of lightweight solutions over Redux are reduced complexity, less boilerplate code, and one very important thing, gradual learning curve. But then, a few years later, Angular team, and not just Angular team, most of the frameworks started providing a reactive model based on signals. So when Angular team introduced signals, we on the NgRx team also started thinking, okay, how we can support our community. We provided the support and integration for signals in our existing libraries, such as NgRx Global Store and Component Store. But in addition to that, we decided to create a new library called NgRx SignalStore that will provide a native support for Angular signals. And we also changed the logo, by the way. Here you can see this transition. So SignalStore is a lightweight, flexible, and extensible state management solution that provides native support for Angular signals. To create a signal store, we can use the function with the same name from NgRx Signals package. This function accepts a sequence of signal store features. The first base feature that NgRx Signals package provides is called with state, and we can use this feature to add a state to our signal store. Then we have with computed. With computed is used to define the derived state or computed state to the signal store. And here you can notice one interesting thing. Namely, a with computed feature accepts a factory function as an input argument. As a result, it expects a dictionary of computed signals. However, here, as an input argument, you can see that we can get a books as a property here. This books is actually a signal. So what will SignalStore do under the hood? It will automatically generate signal for each state slice. All we need to do is to define our state slices here. And under the hood, SignalStore will automatically generate signals for each state slice. And the third base feature that we can use is called with methods. So we can use this feature to add updaters and side effects to our signal store. In this example, I added the add book updater that will add a book to the books collection. So signal store function will return a dynamic Angular service as a result. It will return an injectable. So we can use it as any other service. In other words, if we, for example, want to manage the local state of the books component, we can provide the book store at the books component level. Then we can inject the store and use it as any other service by consuming its API. In this case, we can use generated signals for each state slice, we can use computed signals, and we can use methods from the signal store. But the question is, what about more complex use cases? What about use cases where Flux pattern excels? Let's imagine the following example. Let's say we have some product details page where we are displaying data about some product, and there is a add to cart button. When we click to this button, we want to do several things. First, we want to add product to the cart store. Then we want to reduce available quantity in the inventory store. And the third action or command that we want to do is to load recommended products in the recommendation store. So if we are using the regular SignalStore APIs that we have nowadays, of course we can achieve this, right? We can even achieve this without SignalStore. That's not the question, but the question is how to make our code base clean, maintainable, and scalable. And probably by the end of April, we will introduce a new plugin to the core NgRx Signals package called Events. And for now, it's a prototype that you can find on my GitHub profile. I will share the link later. So it's called NgRx Signals Events. It's a SignalStore plugin for event-based state management. This is the architecture. So it mostly relies on the original Flux architecture. When something happens in our system, we are dispatching an event to the dispatcher. Then we can have one or multiple signal stores instead of the global NgRx store, a single store that we had before. Events are handled by Reducer for state updates and effects for performing side effects. This is similar to the global NgRx store. And then state updates are reflected on the view. When some new event happens, this flow repeats over and over. So to create events, we can use the function called event group. And if you're familiar with global NgRx store, this is just a new name for the create action group function. It accepts a source and a dictionary of events as input arguments. So now to dispatch our events, what we can do, we can inject the dispatcher and dispatch them by using dispatcher directly, or there will be actually a utility function called inject dispatch that creates self-dispatchable actions. So we provide a dictionary of events as an input argument, and then as a result we will get self-dispatchable, I said actions, but now we will call them events, actually. All right, so when add to cart button click happens, we will call our self-dispatchable action that will under the hood dispatch this event. Then in a signal store, we can use a feature called with reducer, and inside of with reducer we can define case reducers. We can do the same in inventory store as well as the recommendation store. So you can notice here that we are in all three stores, we are listening to the same event. We are listening to the added to cart event, and then we can perform state updates like we did in cart or inventory store, and we also have the ability to perform side effects as we did here in the recommendation store by using this with effects feature. Let's now see this in action. So this is my simple application that has actually just 2 pages. The first one is the page that displays the list of artists, and here we have only a single action. We can click on a refresh button. And in addition to this, there is the albums page that has a search, and it also has the ability to sort albums in different order. So let's take a look at the code base. Here I defined the artist page events. These will be the events that will be dispatched from the artist page by using the event group function. And if we inspect the type here, you can see that as a result, we will get 2 event creators, opened and refreshed. We did the same for the artist API source. So we created artist API events. Then in our artist component, we used inject dispatch function and provided this event group artist page event as an input argument. As a result, we will get self-dispatchable events, opened and refreshed. So when the refresh button is clicked, we can just call dispatch.refreshed. When our component is initialized, we can call dispatch.opened. Now let's see how these events are handled. So if I open the artist store, you can see here that I'm using some other custom SignalStore features as before. So this didn't change. I can still use with entities. I can use with state, with computed, and all other features that we used so far with SignalStore. However, additionally, if we want to handle events, and by the way, this is fully optional and will be fully optional, we can use with reducer to handle state updates, and we can also use with effects to handle side effects. When it comes to state updates, you can notice that we can still take advantage of using reusable updaters that are already used with NgRx SignalStore. However, by using this approach, our store can grow, and we don't want that. We want to have a readable code. So what we can do, we can actually apply the same approach that is applied with global NgRx Store. We can move reducer and effects to separate files. Let me show you how we can do that. So here I'm going to create a new file, and I will name it artistseffects.ts. So from here, I'll export a new function, and I will name it with artists effects. So this will be a SignalStore function, SignalStore feature, sorry. And now what we can do, we can just simply copy our with effects from here to here. Then I can go back to my artist store, and I can just call here with artists effects, like this. And my effects will be automatically added to the SignalStore in just one line. So we can do the same with reducer. We can move it to a separate file in the same way. All right. What are the benefits of the events plugin? It combines proven patterns from Flux, Global NgRx Store, and RxJS. It seamlessly integrates with existing SignalStore features. We saw that we can still use things like entities plugin and other base features that we already have in the SignalStore. It extends Flux architecture with powerful customization options and unifies local and global state management with a single approach. This is something that was missing so far. We had a Redux-based global NgRx Store that was used for managing the global state. If we want to manage local state in the event-based manner, there was no solution in the Angular ecosystem for that so far. With this plugin, we will get a functionality, we will get the event-based approach on both sides for handling local and global state. If you're interested to take a look at the source code, to take a look at the events prototype implementation, as well as the example that I just showed you, you can scan this QR code, or you can go to my GitHub profile and you will find it there. Yes, and at ngConf last year, that was more than, it was March last year, I was very happy to announce that NgRx Signals package reached 20K weekly downloads. And today I'm quite happy 1 year later to announce that NgRx Signals package reached 200K weekly downloads, which makes it, thank you very much. This makes NgRx Signals package the fastest growing state management solution in the Angular ecosystem at the moment. If you want to follow us, if you want to follow the NgRx team, you can follow us. We have a X or Twitter account, a LinkedIn account. There is also a Discord server for NgRx where you can join if you have any questions or if you want to help others who need help. Official NgRx documentation, ngrx.io. We also have an official blog on DevTools where we usually publish new posts for new NgRx versions. If you're interested to take a look at NgRx source code, it's available on GitHub ngrx/platform. And I will also announce right now the official NgRx workshops in 2025. So we are offering a 3-day workshop that covers everything from the basics to the advanced techniques for both global NgRx Store and the new NgRx SignalStore. So we have 3 available dates in 2025, in June, September, and October. You can find more info on our official website, or you can go to tito/NgRx. And with that, thank you very much for your time and attention. Enjoy the rest of the conference.